Clinton cash, Hillary Clinton does not want to talk about, of course. The GOP wants to talk about everything but issues. And then again, we have National Weed Day. Whew, the arena begins. Welcome back, veteran economist, professor of international business at the University of Maryland, former chief economist at the U.S. International Trade Commission, Peter Morici, and Republican strategist, consultant, and author of the book Branding America, Noelle Nikpour. I thank you both for joining us today.
Thanks.
Don't worry about it. We'll save National Weed Day until the end. Let's start out with the real money here, where the real money is. This new book, Peter, I start with you. Peter Schweitzer, who really has done some excellent work before in the past, now has a book coming out, Clinton Cash, The Untold Story of How and Why Foreign Governments and Businesses Helped to Make Bill and Hillary Rich. People are thinking this is going to shock people and be really big news. My only question here is, Peter, the Clintons are pretty smart. Don't you think that they would have prepared for something like this one way or the other?
I don't believe so. I think that the Clintons have become extremely arrogant and also quite confident that the women's issue will carry the day. You know, look at the fracking debate in New York State, where it's been pointed out that women are getting more jobs than expected in the petroleum sector thanks to fracking. So the opponent says the only jobs women get are prostitutes and hotel maids, and it works against women because it drives up rent. No, there's some things the left just believes are true. And one of them is that Hillary Clinton should be president by divine right. So frankly, if this is what she needs to do to get the money she wants, then so be it.
But I mean, Peter, how much Teflon, though, can one person actually wear?
Remember Ronald Reagan?
Okay.
An awful lot.
But was Ronald Reagan, you're going to put Ronald Reagan's Teflon in the same category as Hillary Clinton's?
I'm going to put Hillary Clinton's Teflon in the same category as Ronald Reagan's. Both had a force shield based on ideology, and that is that people felt it was time. It was time for their revolution. It was a very different revolution, one from the right, now from the left. But a lot of folks believe that Mr. Obama was not complete, and a lot of women believe that. And until the Republicans come up with something that's better, the other one is Hispanics. I mean, after the damage that Romney did, do they care how they come from a culture where this goes on?
And we just happen to have a young lady, a female here, who can answer to all of that. Nicole, your thoughts on all this? Will this really make a difference?
I do not think that this is going to make much of a difference for Hillary Clinton. And you touched on something earlier. You said, aren't they prepared? Yes, I think that they are prepared. You've got to realize that Bill and Hillary Clinton are almost like a package team, and they are used to scandals. They are used to their brand being tattered and torn, and they've come up like a phoenix above it all. So I look for the Clintons to actually get past this. Look, her argument is going to be that she resigned from the board, and all these are going to look like are pretty much coincidences. And I think that that's what they're going to try to push that off. They're also
okay, but in the same thing, though, when I talked to Peter just a moment ago about Teflon, let me come to you, Noelle, about coincidences. How many coincidences can you actually have before the voters actually look at this finally and say, my goodness, something's got to be wrong here?
Look, I'm not pro-Hillary, but I've got to tell you that, you know, I think that a lot of the voters are already skeptical of Hillary. They just don't have anyone that's come onto the pulpit on the Democratic side. They're ready for Hillary. They've all been pushing for Hillary, and they're going to excuse a lot of her shortcomings. And by a lot of her shortcomings, they're huge. They're like a Benghazi, the emails. And how are they really going to, prove a lot of these things with the foundation? She's already erased a lot of her emails originally now with the scandal.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about another one of the candidates here, Chris Christie. I wanted to get everybody's take on this. Noelle, to you first. Chris Christie comes in, and he actually, my goodness, he talked about actual issues. He talked about fixing the entitlement system. Nobody else seems to want to touch anything at this point as far as the GOP is concerned. Is he perhaps on the way back, and is he perhaps setting a tone that maybe the others don't want to go to? They all want to go after Hillary, but they don't want to talk about issues just yet.
And Chris Christie is actually doing one smart thing. Chris Christie is attacking, tackling the issues. He's bringing that forward. If he can manage to do something really big in New Hampshire, it's going to put him on the political map as a serious contender. This is something that his brand desperately needs. Look, you've got to realize before the Bridgegate, before all this went on, he was one of the top contenders for president against Hillary, and he could actually show where he was beating Hillary. He was raising money from people like Mark Zuckerberg out in California with Facebook. I mean, you've got to realize this is his hope. This is his last grandstand. If he can place well in New Hampshire, he's got it going on. Look, he's already got Ray Washburn out of Dallas, Texas. He's got Nick Loeb out of New York. He's got Ken Langone. He has got some powerhouses behind him financially.
All right, and Peter, to you on this one, because he's sinking to a new low in a New Jersey poll, but come on, he's got nothing to lose. Go for broke, right?
If he won the presidency, he would likely do it by losing his home state. I mean, New Jersey is far left. They're very disgusted with him, and he's not going to be reelected as governor.
Well, but is that maybe why we should not put a whole lot of stench into what we see and what we hear from this poll in New Jersey? Because, as you said, they're very far left. So if he's losing, and let me see, the numbers right here are 53 to 38%. That shouldn't make much of a difference then to the GOP.
What really matters is what happens in New Hampshire, and I ask you to remember Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter let all the other candidates squabble among themselves. Right now, Christie's standing back and letting all the other candidates attack Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and call this a third term. He could catch fire just walking from diner to diner in New Hampshire, talking about the issues that Republicans care about, that the conservative voters there care about. And he could pull an upset that way simply because the others cancel themselves out. If it was a one-on-one with Jeb Bush, I wouldn't give you 50 cents for his chances. But 1-on-6, 1-on-7, 1-on-8, he's the only guy talking about the issues. The others are afraid. He could pull it out.
He could
then
indeed.
He would be a force to be reckoned with.
All right, 2 minutes left here. One last thing before we take a break, come back. Peter, to you, the Justice Department and the FBI, they've made all kinds of mistakes in their forensic evidence unit. They may have actually sent people to be executed with incorrect or false evidence. How big? This is a monstrous story, and it's going to reopen the death penalty case and that debate in so many places.
There are many places where bad DNA evidence has sent people up, or the absence of DNA evidence altogether has sent people up. And in a lot of states, judges have been reluctant to reopen those cases unless they were death penalty cases. The reality is, law enforcement in America is broken. It's heavily politicized, it's highly ideological. Just as we see Eric Holder abusing his office, on the right, we've seen local police chiefs, the FBI and so forth, abuse their offices. Law enforcement in America is a mess. It's not just racism, it's contempt.
Fair to say, though, Noelle, rather, that what we have here is a trust issue here. And it doesn't make a difference how you slice this. This is 26 overstated forensic matches in ways that favored prosecutors in more than 95% of 268 trials reviewed. How can anybody trust law enforcement even as far up as the FBI now?
You know, and this is horrendous. This is horrendous. This is where people put their trust in the FBI. This is really bad. This is just as bad as the IRS. I mean, this is really bad, and people have lost their trust. You know, it's really sad because there was a book written recently by, I think it was Brian Stevenson, called Just Mercy, and where he goes in and there's people that have been wrongfully on death row that the evidence against them doesn't even stack up. So the problem is this has been going on for a long time, but that now that's been brought to life, and a lot of people, a lot of Americans are very disappointed in this, rightfully so.
There's going to have to be a lot of answers here because the cases include those of 32 defendants sentenced to death. Of those, 14 have been executed or died in prison. And again, we don't know if they all were caught in this web as far as any sort of evidence that might have found them innocent. Guaranteed that's going to come out in a lot of the further investigations as well. Peter Morici, Noelle Nikpour, please stand by just a couple of moments. We have to take a break, come back on the other side. And when we do, Marco Rubio makes a statement that has a lot of people in the GOP somewhat shocked that he would even say it out loud as he seeks the Republican presidential nomination. And don't forget, we will not forget National Weed Day. Next, as the arena continues on MidPoint. Let's get back to work in the arena. Professor of International Business at the University of Maryland, Peter Morici, Republican strategist and consultant, Noelle Nikpour. Noelle, to you first. The list of foreigners trying to get into the United States legally is now 4.4 million. That's over 100,000 more than last year. These are the people waiting, doing what they're told. They're waiting legally. Well, heck, maybe we ought to just get a hold of them and say, go ahead and be illegal. Maybe you'll get in a lot faster due to amnesty.
I know. You know, that's it's really unfair. It's unfair to do the people that follow the rules and follow the system. And, you know, immigration, pardon the pun, has become so politicized. It's really sad. And these are real people with families that are actually trying to come to America for, the American dream and a chance to be free and live free, and they're getting bogged down with government regulation. It's really sad to do to people.
That's 4 million people, Peter, who basically have been told that you can't get in and you've done everything right. No matter how many times we talk about this, there's a new system, there's the president's plan. Nobody is ever talking about fixing the system and making it easier to get in for those who follow the rules.
Well, the president has within his lens, several million people that if he naturalizes them and gets them citizenship and all the rest, because that's what we're talking about in the end, he's got several million Democratic voters. So his impulses, as we've seen over and over again, are not about fairness or about the rule of law. The previous story, indicates that, but rather what serves his political interests, because to him this is a war. The right is somehow or other not wrong but evil. It serves his interest to pursue this policy, and the notion of justice to these 4 million people be damned.
Let's move on then to politics now, a little bit more back in New Hampshire this past weekend. Marco Rubio said, and Peter, this shocked a lot of people. I actually got a lot of interest from folks who sent me mail and such when he said that basically he did not believe same-sex marriage is a constitutional right, but he conceded that sexual preference is something that people are born with. Did he just commit a little suicide right here for the far right?
Well, he might have committed a little bit of suicide from the far right, but I've heard physicians who are fairly conservative, like myself, indicate that sexual preferences are, kind of inborn. They're the way you are. Some people may be on the edge and influenced by the style of the times, but by and large, a person is gay not because they want to be gay, but because that's what it is. If you take that, then it's hard to say there isn't the constitutional basis for an absence of discrimination, the freedom to go about their business. I don't know how any conservative should be able to say to someone they should not live their private life as they wish. The institution of marriage, that is another issue. One of the problems is we've bestowed so many benefits on marriage and so many costs on marriage that the notion of equal treatment under the law becomes distorted if one group in the population is excluded from it.
Okay, I got to stop you there. I got to stop you there for 1 sec because I got to get a little bit more from Noelle. I got one thing in here real quick before we get out. Noelle, your reaction to all this, because it would seem as if that many Republicans are now starting to go back to this, saying that maybe this is something that they have to reconsider in their stance.
I think he covered his base. I think he covered everything. I think that while he said that he believes that marriage is between a man and a woman, so he believes that traditional base GOP platform statement. He also, also said that he believes that you're born with that inherited trait or whatever. So it's almost like he kind of covered both sides. So you really can't get angry on him on one side because he's protecting one right, while you really can't get upset with him because he has also recognized that being gay is not a choice. So I think and then by saying leaving it up state by state, he's really got a point, because think about it. Leave marriage up to the institutional, leave marriage up to the churches.
Yep. All right. I got less than a minute here. 20 seconds. Noelle, to you first. Some people want to make today National Weed Day. They want to make it a national holiday to celebrate marijuana. Yeah, okay. I'm just going to go with you on that. You go ahead and take it from there.
Well, yay, or you can do whatever you want. We've got national every kind of day. So, the fact that we'd have National Weed Day, really, who cares? I don't smoke pot. I'm not a pusher of marijuana. But if somebody, it is legalized in, I think, 37 states. So, it is here, and it may be going on to more states. And there is a use for some medical marijuana. There is some exception to the rule. So I say if we want to have a marijuana day, have it.
15 seconds, Peter. National holiday?
Not a national holiday, and I'd hate to see the president, say, well, gee, it's National Weed Day, but I don't see anything wrong with legalizing weed. Economists are for choice, and this is about choice.
Let's put it this way. I think if the president did announce National Weed Day, you would have some people say, I wonder what the president has been smoking inside the White House. That's another story altogether. Noelle Nikpour, Peter Morici, thanks so much for joining us. I look forward to the next time we talk.
We'll see you.
Take care, everybody. Claims and counterclaims on Hillary Clinton from a book that is yet to be published, next on MidPoint.